What is going on, guys? Welcome to episode 182 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I'm your host, of course, Jeff Lambert. You can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. We are live every Wednesdays and Friday nights on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube, and syndicated on all major podcast networks and streaming the Going for Two app for iOS and Android. I'm here with my co-hosts, Tim and Gerson. What's up, Tim?
I'm doing good tonight, man. I'm just happy to be back.
Yes, sir. And Gerson, man, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good, man.
Good stuff, guys.
I know we wouldn't have had a show last week anyway, but I missed because of my brother's wedding, and I want to give a shout-out to him and his new wife, Jennifer.
Nice. Congratulations to them. Yeah, last week, guys, I apologize. Had some last-minute stuff come up, so we did not have a show last week. But we are back this week, and we're going to hopefully knock it out the park this week and make up for lost ground last week. Before we get to the run real quick, I want to just plug a few things. Our DFS contest for the Thanksgiving Slate's a charity contest that we are doing for raising awareness around addiction. It's free to join. Donations are optional. Just go to goingfor2.com/fight. You can sign up there and donate there as well. And then next week's show is going to be a little bit different. So we're not going to do a Friday show because it's Black Friday and I work retail. So unfortunately, I'll be probably working. But Wednesday night will be our show. We're going to split it into two. The first half of the show is just going to be the Thanksgiving slate. Second half of the show will be the main slate, and we'll just knock it all out in one night. If we can keep Gerson from talking too much, it'll fit into an hour.
Hey, don't forget, top donation wins a pair of Society socks on me.
That's right. And I did forget to promo that at the top there. We're always brought to you by Society Socks. Bold socks with social cause. For every pair of socks you buy, a pair is given to charity. Visit My Society Socks /Armchair and use my promo code Armchair to get 50% off. All right, let's get to the rewind.
That's better than your commercial.
What was that?
That sounded better than your commercial.
I know, my commercial. I know, I got to change it. You say that every time, man. I got to sit down one day and just change that commercial because I had to read that script and it sounds like I'm reading it.
The Weekly Rewind. Rewind.
All right, so the rewind, of course, we didn't have a show last week, but I'm just curious, how did you guys do last week? Gerson, I'll go to you first.
I did good. It was a low-scoring week, right? But I had a lot of Josh Allen, so I did good. I did okay. Nothing big. It just too much variance happened last week. But if you had Josh Allen, you were on the good side.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Tim?
Well, I did okay in cash. I basically broke even. I actually made a little money in golf last week, which was nice. And then speaking of the going for two /fight, I played the current high donation of Joseph Figueroa last week in the arena, and Bailey pulled out a win against him. So I want to give a shout out to Joseph. Good game there. I'm playing none other than Washington Randy this week in the arena. So
nice.
Go into the Facebook group, vote for the winner, and you could be in the arena next week.
Nice. Good stuff.
Not his last name. That's why you said that.
All right, guys, let's not waste any time. Let's get to the quarterbacks.
Let's talk quarterbacks.
All right, Gerson, we'll start with you. I know we talked about this slate a little bit before the show, and it's kind of an ugly slate this week, but let's get to these elite tier quarterbacks. Gerson, who you got?
I think the number one guy that I'm going to be targeting is Air Bear, Pat McAfee like to call him, Justin Herbert. I don't know if you guys seen his new haircut, but holy shit, that guy. There's a lot of ugly people in football, like Marshawn Lynch. Justin Herbert's a pretty ugly guy with that haircut and everything.
It looks like he got hazed in week 11.
Yeah, basically.
How did that happen?
Like a frat boy that got, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes they'll shave the rookie's head like during training camp or something. They didn't have training camp this year, so I guess they're like, oh, this is a good week. We'll just do it this week.
Whoever the barber was needs to get fired or something. But yeah, Justin Herbert, I mean, this guy's been pretty phenomenal for a rookie, right? I mean, he had almost 6 games at least 20 or more points. He has the upside this week for sure, facing the New York Jets, 32nd ranked in DVOA defense versus the pass. In DVP, they ranked 29th, and I mean, he's grading out to be the best quarterback matchup, and along with the ownership at 11%. To give you an idea, usually if a quarterback is over 10%, that's a pretty high ownership.
Yep.
Last week it was Josh Allen at 10%, and this week it's Justin Herbert. And his price is not bad, like $6,800. But the thing is, their wide receivers, he can match with them. And Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, other guys we'll talk about. I love the New York Jets matchup, so I'm definitely going to have a lot of Herbert.
Yeah, definitely. Those games you mentioned with his 20-plus points, I mean, he played a few good defenses, too. I mean, he played Tampa Bay in that mix. Yeah, I think 24 against them. Yeah, he played Miami last week and still had 21 points against that good defense. So he's not just beating up on crappy teams. You got some good teams mixed in there as well. Tim, what you got for your elite guys?
Yeah, I also love Herbert this week. I'm going to have plenty of him. The other guy I have probably as my top quarterback this week. He is the most expensive quarterback on the slate, though. It's kind of weird a slate, no Kyler, no Josh Allen, no Patrick Mahomes, but you do have right there at the top, you have Mr. Lamar Jackson, and he's coming off kind of what people say kind of a little bit of a down year, but I think that Tennessee is kind of the team that cures for what ails you,
Yep.
The Tennessee Titans allow you to put up plenty of points. They're currently projected for 27 points. The game's projected for 50. And I think that the way that sets up is exactly how you attack Tennessee, especially when you're going to stack against them. So I love Lamar stacks this week. I think you can also run Lamar naked. Shout out to Randy there. And, I think he's just a great option this week in general.
Good stuff.
He showed them in the playoff last year. He went 31 for 59, 365 yards, and 143 yards rushing. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Definitely a great matchup for him. And this defense is even more horrible this year than last year.
Yep,
So.
yep, they definitely are. Gerson, you got Watson on your list. I only have Herbert on mine, so I'm not going to talk about Herbert at all. But if you can talk about Watson a little bit, he's on your list as well.
Yeah, I've been playing Watson ever since Bill O'Brien got fired. I mean, week in, week out, he's performing now, having 29, 35, 27, 24 points. He had a down game against Cleveland, but we all know that was a win issue. That's why you guys got to be following the show on Sunday when I tune in. I'll tell you if there's issues with win or something happened, But I told people I was off Watson. I was off that whole game, basically.
Yep.
Except for the running game, of course. But Deshaun Watson, 6,500. I love the stack because there's a guy not named Nikhil Harry. Gonna bring him back with him.
It's a low-key shot right there.
Yeah. He's the second highest owned quarterback at 9%, but I love this matchup. I mean, it's kind of weird. I when I saw the total on it, I was like, wow, almost 50 points. Because I don't really consider New England a high-scoring offense no more, but they're getting a little bit of life after. Yeah, I mean, Jacoby Myers, Damian Harris, and all these other guys, but they're doing it differently. Josh McDaniels working his magic, but I love Watson in this matchup. I think to bring back is cheap, and you're gonna have to find some cheap ways because there's some elite running backs that we want, and one of them cost a fortune. So,
yep.
Yeah. I think Watson has a really good shot to be the number one quarterback on this slate, and he saved you like 800 over Lamar. So,
yep.
I think he's probably my favorite quarterback this week. Other than the other guys we talked about.
Shockingly, I mean, New England Patriots defense ranked 30th in DVOA against quarterback.
Wow.
So, I mean, a lot of people, they would think it's a good defense, but I thought that last game versus Lamar Jackson was kind of fluky.
You watched that, wasn't it a Thursday night game again where they let Joe Flacco put up like 28 points,
yeah,
right? You watched that game,
torched
right?
Him. Yep. And Tim, you have one more guy. So this guy I've had on my list for the last few weeks, and I left him off my list this week. But Mr. Big Ben, you got him on your list. Give me a little bit about him.
I do, yeah. And it's mainly just because I love the stacks this week. I think that all of his receivers are obviously in a great situation this week against Jacksonville. We've been targeting Jacksonville all year. Normally you say you don't want to play Big Ben on, this is a situation where I think they're just going to tear them up. And the stacks, like I said, I don't care that it's on the road because it's Jacksonville, right?
Yeah.
Like you look at that above all else, right? They can't stop anybody. They're one of the worst teams, if not the worst team against the pass. So, I mean, it's just, an easy spot for him. Like I said, you can stack him with a bunch of guys we'll talk about later. So I think that it wouldn't shock me if a Big Ben stack ended up winning everything this week.
Yeah, I like that. And I got into a talk with somebody on Twitter, and they were bringing up Big Ben's history versus Jacksonville, which is not very good. But I don't think history matters.
Jacksonville was good then, right?
Yeah, exactly. History doesn't matter because this Jacksonville team is not what it was a few years ago. There's no one even that's the same players there anymore. So I don't think I'm too worried about the matchup being Jacksonville. So I agree. I think Big Ben's a nice play. Let's move down into the mid-tier. And Gerson, I'll go to you first. Who do you got in your mid-tier?
I only have one guy, I think. So
Yeah.
I think me and Tim both have the same guy. So it's Matt Ryan, a.k.a. Matty Ice. I've always Calvin Ridley is expected to play in this game with Julio Jones. New Orleans, I mean, this is a high-scoring game. I think it's the highest one. No, it's the second highest one, right?
Yeah.
But right now, it's just they announced that Taysom Hill is going to start at quarterback. I expect Jameis Winston to go in there sometime, maybe on passing situations that are better for him. Maybe like, hey, we just need you to throw the ball somewhere.
Yeah, go in there and throw an interception. We want an interception. Go in there and throw one of those.
Trust me, I've heard people saying they're going to correlate Taysom Hill with a defense of the Falcons because they know Jameis will go in there and throw an interception. But yeah, give me Matt Ryan in this game environment, 6,300. He's really low owned, and this is the time that I like to target Matt Ryan. He's only at 4% because I think it's more contrarian than anything. And Matt Ryan he's done very well versus the New Orleans Saints, and it's the dome game, so I don't really expect any problem for him. But for sure, give me that stack Ridley to Julio and Matt Ryan, bringing it back with not Slant Boy, probably standard. But dude, I wish Taysom Hill was a tight end on DraftKings. You know how sweet that would be.
That's how it is on FanDuel. Yeah. FanDuel's got him as a tight end because I think he'll be 100% owned in that tight position for sure.
Yeah, I just think that New Orleans is getting so much kind of so many clicks, so many looks that going with the Atlanta stack on the other side is the smart way to do it. Yeah. He got all of his weapons back, easy stack options, and they wouldn't not as high owned as they would be on a normal slate in this position. So I think everything kind of sets up for the Falcons stack this week.
Yep, I love it.
GPP guys, GPP, not
GPP, right?
Yep, sure.
The other speaking of GPP, Jeff, I think you have another great contrarian stack over there.
Yeah, I do. I got two guys that are probably going to be lower owned guys. Kirk Cousins versus Dallas. Andy Dalton will be back. I think Dallas can move the ball with Andy Dalton back there. It can score some points and force the Vikings to throw the ball as well. Obviously, we know the Dallas defense is not that great. It's better than it was in the beginning of the season, but still not very good. And I think last week Cousins put up, I think, his his season high in attempts last week. So I think that could definitely be another thing this week. And then Cam Newton. Cam Newton is the best goal line running back in the NFL right now. He's got 9 touchdowns from like the 1 or 2 yard line. So, you got Houston, who's terrible against the run. Damian Harris might run wild on him, but he won't get the touchdowns. It'll be Cam Newton getting the touchdowns, so he has that upside for the touchdown ability. So it's Cam Newton against Houston, another contrarian play as well. We'll move down into the value tier. We all have one of the same guys there. And since I gave Matt Ryan to Gerson, I'll give you this one, Tim. Talk about Mr. Burrow.
Yeah, I think he's probably my favorite value play on this slate at quarterback. I think if I can find the money, I'm going to try and pay up for Watson. But if I can't, one place I do like to pay down is quarterback. And I think Joe Burrow is just too cheap this week. I do believe in the Washington defense. I think they are legit, but I think he's throwing the ball 40-plus times a game.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it really matters. You know what I mean? They're going to, in almost any game script, he's going to be throwing the ball 35, 40-plus times. So I just think that at his price, he's got upside of, 5x salary, which is what I usually look for when I'm looking in cash games. I may have some stacks in him in GPP, but I mainly see him as a cheap cash game quarterback.
Yeah, I like it. I think, like you mentioned, we always say it in fantasy, volume is king, and he gets tons of volume, that's for sure. I think his season low in attempts is 30, which is pretty crazy. He's got 47 mixed in there. He had 40 last week. You got a game in week 2. They had 61 attempts, which is just a ridiculous number for a rookie. But yeah, I love it. Joe Burrow is my value quarterback.
And actually, he runs the ball a little bit too, especially like you were talking about down near the goal line. He'll take off every once in a while. So I think he actually has some value added with his legs as well.
Agreed. Yeah. Gerson, who do you got as one of your value quarterbacks?
Just what's his name? I had both of these guys, Jason. Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston, but now we got the news. It's definitely Taysom Hill. He's probably my number one value quarterback right now. I think facing the Atlanta Falcons, by far one of the worst pass defense in the league. I believe they rank 28th or 29th, I think.
It's bad. That's all I know.
All I know is they made Drew Lock look good, and that's the only thing that is making me consider Taysom Hill.
Yep.
Yeah, they rank 28th DVOA. 4,800, that's a pretty cheap quarterback, especially a quarterback that's a dual threat quarterback. Taysom Hill can run. Obviously, that's what they use him for, those gadget plays, and I don't think they're going to go away from that. And if Taysom Hill goes out of the package, let's say Jameis comes in, I can guarantee you Taysom Hill will still be in those plays.
Yeah.
I can't guarantee it. Don't come at me, but I can almost tell you. But it's like what the news that we got early on that they said that Taysom Hill got all the first team reps and that that he's the plan for the starting quarterback. I can't know exactly how it was.
Yeah, there was no offensive packages designed for Jameis Winston. So that's how I think they worded it somehow like that.
Yeah. So basically, it shows you that they paid this guy like $21 million or something like that for 3 years or something like that.
Yeah, a lot for a backup quarterback that's only thrown, I think, 18 passes in his career.
And I'm not trying to be a homer here, and I'm not a BYU fan either. I'm a Utah fan, but I've seen Taysom Hill play quarterback as a passer. He's very erratic, but he still has quite an arm. And as a dual quarterback, give me him at 4,800.
Can you stack him?
I was just going to ask the same question, Tim. You took your words right out of my mouth. Can you stack him, or do you run him naked?
No, I'm running him naked. Like, the only way I'm stacking that game is just with Matt Ryan and bring him back with one of those wide receivers or tight end.
Yep.
I mean, he may throw the ball 15 times, right? So if he gets there, you're hoping he gets there on running volume or touchdowns alone.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
that's the thing, though. I was thinking, like, this Atlanta defense is good against the run. So I'm really curious. This game is going to be crazy how it goes out. I want to watch this game on Sunday. It should be fun.
Yeah, definitely. So the only other guy that I had that we haven't talked about yet, and he got mentioned in the chat, Mr. Back-to-back 300-yard game, Alex Smith, actually had a career high last week in passing yards, and I think broke an NFL record for most passing yards without throwing a touchdown pass, which is really hard to do, to throw for almost 400 yards and not throw a TD. I don't think he gets that much yards this week, but I do think he gets into the end zone a few times, maybe 2 TDs through the air, maybe even one with his legs. At 5.3, I think he's going to be a pretty good value quarterback. A little bit contrarian because it's Alex Smith, and we can't put a lot of trust in that or in that Washington offense, but I do think Smith is definitely viable this week.
Jeff, I was hoping we would get to throw back to our XFL days and get to talk about Mr. PJ Walker here.
Well, you just brought it up, so you go ahead and talk about him.
Yeah, I did. I was going to say, right now, we don't know if Teddy's going to play. Obviously, it all hinges on that. But just anytime we get to bring up our short-lived XFL show, I'm always in for that. But you were talking earlier, dual-threat quarterback. This guy actually can throw the ball. He's also 4,800. So if you're looking at him or Taysom Hill, man, I'd almost rather play PJ Walker if I know, if I know Teddy's not going to play, because I just don't like that game script for him. I think that there's, like Gerson said, a ton of ways that could go wrong.
Yep.
So I like PJ Walker if Teddy doesn't play, if I'm going to pay all the way down.
Yeah, I do too, and I thought I'd be able to talk about him this week as well, because he was a superstar in the other league, in the XFL. I mean, he was the guy we were basically playing.
Yeah, he would have been the MVP if that season played out.
Yep,
exactly. He was that much better than everybody else.
Exactly. All right, let's jump.
I don't think he's playing. I really don't. I don't.
You don't think
Teddy plays?
No, all the reports that I saw and read from beat writers, they all look negative. And he's not looking like he's gonna play. So he's gonna be a value for sure. I love the stacks in that game until we got all those news that the Lions are gonna miss like half of their team. But no, I love Philip Walker.
Yeah,
PJ Walker.
Yeah, Philip PJ. I don't know what they call him now. Because I think even in the XFL, he had no fear to go down the field, which is nice. I think even when he got into the game, it was last week or the week before when he played a little bit. He threw a deep ball down the field, on his second or third pass. So I think he can definitely open it up a little bit, and he's not afraid to push the ball down the field. So it could be good for those receivers.
Yeah, if it was somebody that I think had like a really strong defense, like he was playing Pittsburgh or something, that would be one thing. But it's Detroit, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We're not really worried.
Exactly. All right, let's get to the tight ends.
Did somebody say tight ends?
All right, I don't have a single top-tier tight end that I like, so I'm going to let you all talk about the one guy that you have together. Tim, I'll go to you since Gerson's got 2 guys listed there. Give me your elite tight end.
I'm going to read it exactly how I wrote it on the sheet, which is burn me, Mark Andrews, burn me. Because I feel like this is the week where if you don't have Mark Andrews, you're going to regret it. There's no Travis Kelce. There's no George Kittle. He is the highest priced tight end on the slate at 4,900. And if you would have told me like this same price a year ago, we would have said he was $1,000 too cheap, right? He's just a guy who is regularly 6,000 or above. He gets a good matchup against Tennessee, who's bottom 10 against tight ends, and he's only 4,900. So I don't know if I can get to him in cash, at least not in my current build. But I'm going to be way overweight. I'll probably be at least 50% Mark Andrews in GPP this week.
Wow. And Gerson, you had Mark Andrews.
I just think he's got the highest ceiling on the slate at tight end by far.
Yeah,
he could
I agree.
do 25 points, and nobody else could come close.
Yep, I agree. He's definitely he has that ceiling for sure. We saw it a lot last year. And Gerson, you had 2 guys in your list. One of the guys you have as an elite tight end is actually pretty cheap there, but you put him as an elite guy. You love Goddard this week?
Yeah, I love Goddard versus Cleveland Brown. They ranked 23rd in GDP. Goddard is getting the the target last week and 6 target. I think people are going to look at his production and not go to him. But my ownership is telling me otherwise because he's coming in at 13%. That's pretty high for a tight end. By the way, Mark Andrews number 1 at 16%. But 3,800, that's so cheap for a guy that can. I think Goddard, like I say, tight end this year. If they get you 5 receptions and 60 yards, you're
ecstatic, yeah.
You know, you're ecstatic. I mean, AKA Logan Thomas last week. So I mean, last week was brutal. There was only 2 tight ends that had double digit. It was Thomas and Gronkowski.
Yeah.
But 3,800. Sign me up for Dallas Goddard. I know what his name came back from the IR, Zach Ertz, but I don't think he's gonna play this Sunday. And if he does, he'll be very limited. I think they want to see what they got in Goddard because more than likely they're not gonna re-sign Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a good point. All right, since I didn't have a top tier guy, I'll take one of the mid tier guys that I like, and I'm gonna go with Mr. T.J. Hockenson, who I brought up I think last week or the week before, I guess, and he didn't have a very good game, but I do think that he's basically going to be the last man standing situation. They have no Galladay, no Amendola. Hopefully Stafford still plays. I haven't heard if he's definitely going to be in yet or not. If Stafford does not play, I still like Hockenson, but not quite as much. But he's very cheap at 4.2 against Carolina. He'll be basically the number 1 receiver out there, I think, other than Marvin Jones. So you got Marvin Jones and then Hockenson. So I think that Hockenson at 4.2 can be a good play.
Stafford expected to play by Jeremy Fowler.
Okay, good stuff. Tim, I'll go to you next, man. Who do you have for one of your mid tiers?
Yeah, I was going to say my mid tier reminds me of a wrestler. I know, Gerson, you're a big fan of wrestling. It's Triple H because it's Henry, Hurst, and Hockenson, right? All 3 in a row.
Nice.
Because I think that they're all kind of in a similar spot this week. Like you said, Hockenson gets the boost up because the other guys are out. I think Hayden Hurst is still underpriced. I think he's running as many routes as any tight end in the league at 4.4, and he gets an excellent matchup against New Orleans, who surrendered, top 5 against tight ends this year. And then Hunter Henry, who gets a prime matchup against the Jets. And we were talking about it earlier when we were talking about Justin Herbert. This reminds me a lot a few weeks ago when nobody wanted to play the Chiefs against the Jets. And then the Chiefs absolutely went off. And one of the people in that game you had to have to win tournaments was Travis Kelce.
Yep.
And I could see Hunter Henry having a similar week where he has, 4 catches for 50 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he's easily the top tight end on the slate. So I could absolutely see any 3 of those guys. If you're not going to pay up for Mark Andrews or punt down to one of the guys we're going to talk about, I love those 3 in the mid-range. All
right, I love it. Gerson, you got 2 guys that we haven't talked about yet. Go ahead and talk about both of your tight ends.
Well, number 1 is let me talk. I want to save the best for last. So, Austin Hooper is one of the tight ends I'm targeting. Last week, Cleveland back-to-back game. I mean, last week with the wind issue. So again, throw that game out the window. We're still trying to see that breakout. Well, we saw a little bit of it, right? Against Pittsburgh, against Indianapolis, I mean. But I think Austin Hooper is going to get targeted in this game. The matchup is excellent. 29th overall, 29th in DBP, 3,900. I'm kind of living and dying in that mid tier, or basically. I mean, all about. There's not an expensive tight end, so
yeah.
Austin Hooper should get targeted in this game versus Philly. I think this game actually we're gonna have to score more. I think Philly's offense is gonna score more than people think. But give me Austin Hooper. He's only coming in at 7% ownership. So, yeah, I like him. Next guy is Logan Thomas. I mean, you guys know I love Logan Thomas. I talked about this guy in the offseason, during the season, and he's finally paying off, right? I mean, Alex Smith comes in. He targeted him 6 times, 4 receptions, 66 yards last year. Yeah, he looks like he finally got a quarterback that can throw to him, so that's good, right? Finally. But, I mean, he's put up good games against Dallas. He had a 16-point game against New York Giants. He had a 13-point game. Kind of sad that we say those are good games, right? Yeah, but that's the tight end landscape we live in. And he's coming in at 10% ownership, which is the 4th highest ownership for a tight end. I mean, if you were to tell me that Logan Thomas was going to be the 4th highest owned tight end in week, 11 now?
Yeah.
Yep.
In the offseason, I would have been like, so I was right. He is a thing.
Yeah, he fits into builds nicely this week, and Cincinnati surrenders like almost 25% of all targets to the tight end position, so he just kind of fits in so well this week.
Sam, we got a question on Facebook from Jared Good. I wanted to ask you real quick since you were on Mark Andrews. Would you consider on FanDuel flexing Mark Andrews into the flex position and using Hill in the tight end position just to be different? So basically going 2 tight ends, but one of them's a quarterback.
Ooh. I don't play FanDuel, so I don't have to make these decisions. But yeah, I would. I mean, I don't know what his price is relative. It's hard for me to say because when you're talking about flex position, it's all about what is his price relative to other players you could have in that position. But, I wouldn't be out on the idea. I think he gets enough volume. But chances are I'd say no. I'd probably rather have a wide receiver running back for more upside.
I absolutely not. I mean, absolutely wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Because on FanDuel, those flex spots are usually for running back.
Yeah, because it's not PPR. There's no PPR over there.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to get really contrarian, since literally everybody will have Taysom Hill and play Mark Andrews there instead and hope he goes off, I like that idea better.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I think he was doing. But
all right, let's go down to the value tier here, and I just have one value that I wanted to bring up, and Mr. ISJ, Irv Smith Jr. Of course, I had him a couple weeks ago as one of my calls, and he had 2 catches and 2 touchdowns, so it kind of paid off a little bit. He missed last week, obviously. He's supposed to be back this week. He's still cheap at 3.4. Dallas' secondary, even though they show well against the tight end, they're still pretty porous. I think ISJ can have a good showing against Dallas at 3.4. And then
Tim, he was limited all week, though. So if he's out, though, I actually like Rudolph as a play as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you have the other guy on the coin there. If Irv Smith's out, you have Rudolph, who I think had a season high last week of targets and receptions and yards, I think. So, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, if you guys thought tight end was ugly, just wait till we get to running back.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll tackle the running backs and the wide receivers, so hold tight. What's up, everyone? Jeff Lambert here, and I want to tell you about Society Socks. Is your sock drawer kind of boring? I know mine is. Society Socks is a men's sock subscription company that sends 2 pairs of exclusively designed socks to your door every month. These socks are made of a warm, soft, and comfortable blend of combed cotton, guaranteed to make your feet feel and look great. At the office or the bar, your socks are sure to be a hit. You might be wondering, why are they called Society Socks? Well, that's the best part. Socks are one of the most needed and least donated items at homeless shelters. Society Socks aims to change that. With every pair of socks purchased, another pair of socks is donated to homeless shelters. So on top of receiving awesome socks every month and amping up your sock drawer, you are actively making a positive change in society. With 2 surprise pairs of socks arriving at your door every month, you'll begin to grow an impressive sock collection. Visit mysocietysocks.com/armchair and enter our promo code ARMCHAIR to get 50% off your first subscription. Put an end to boring socks and subscribe today. Again, that's mysocietysocks.com/armchair and use promo code ARMCHAIR. All right, guys, welcome back, and we are just going to jump right into the running backs.
It's time for running backs. Running backs.
All right, so we basically all have the same 3 guys here at the elite level, so I'm just going to go to Gerson first. Gerson, pick whatever one your favorite is.
I'm just going to say the Lakers are repeating next year. They just got Montrezl Harrell.
But they haven't got Anthony Davis yet, though. He still hasn't signed with them.
Bro, he's re-signed. He's not. So, he's not going to your Pelicans. Don't worry about it.
That's a clown question, bro.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, running back kind of ugly. It's pretty straightforward, and I don't even know how you even want to get different with it. The number 1 running back is Mr. Dalvin Cook. Mr. Back-to-back phenomenal. Well, before last week, back-to-back.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. When we could play him, okay, guys? When we could play him, you know? 42 and 51 point game. 9,000. That's a lot. But facing Dallas, ranked 28th in DVOA, excellent matchup. He's coming in easily on ownership would be like 25%, and then another guy would be like 22, and so on. Not this week. He's 33%, and the next guy is 19%.
Wow.
So that gives you an idea. I mean, his matchup is excellent. His situation is excellent, and 27 point total. So I expect them to blow out Dallas, and they're going to use Dalvin Cook. But give me Dalvin Cook at $9. He's pretty much a lock in cash game, so don't even think about not playing him.
Yeah. Yep. Good stuff. All right, Tim, who you got?
All right, I'm going to talk about the big dog. That's right. It's Derrick Henry. I know there's another guy that you want to talk about this week, but I'm going to this week, I'm going to try really hard to play Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry. Two reasons for that. One, he played excellent in their last matchup against Baltimore, which was last year in the playoffs. He had 195 yards on 30 carries. On 3 carries. That would be amazing. No. On 30 carries. He just gets so much volume. He's consistently getting 20-plus carries a week. So it was already a pretty good matchup against Baltimore going in based on how I think that they want to move the ball. And then Calais Campbell and Brandon Williams are both doubtful for this game, which I think is going to only help the Tennessee Titan ability to run the ball. So I think this week looks like it could set out to be one of those Derrick Henry weeks where he goes, 140-plus yards and, maybe 2 touchdowns. And if you don't have him, he's going to break the slate. Because as Gerson mentioned, everybody's going to be on Cook. You get almost no leverage there. But I think that Henry's going to give you significant leverage because I think a lot of people, if they're going to pay up for 2, it's going to be for him and Kamara.
Yep, and that's the other guy I wanted to talk about, Alvin Kamara. Obviously, he's 9.2, so he's expensive. So you got to make some decisions there if you really want to get him in your lineup. But against Atlanta, they used the hell out of this guy. I know he missed some practice time this week, but he has no designation now for injury. He was a full practice today, so I think Kamara at 9.2. If you're going to pay up that much for a running back, Kamara, you can't go wrong there. He's getting the CMC type workload that CMC got last year. He's just getting used in the passing game, getting used in the running game. And against Atlanta, I think that's a pretty good matchup there.
Yeah, Kamara saved me last week, so.
Yeah, he saved me as well.
He saved me in the arena, too.
Yeah.
Hey, actually, before we move on, I do want to mention one thing. Speaking of guys who saved me last week, I would have lost in cash if at the last second I didn't pivot from Duke Johnson to DeAndre Swift when that news came out that Swift was going to be the lead guy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have had like 20 less points and not cashed. So I'm actually really disappointed we don't get to talk about Swifty this week. Because after I called him as my sit call of the week, he won the Millie Maker. And then coming off, him finally getting the touches he should get, he should have been a lock on this slate at 6,400.
Yep.
And now we have to worry about, do I want to play Adrian Peterson or Kerryon Johnson?
Yeah, I was talking to him.
It's so sad. He should have been like instant,
Yep, definitely. I was talking to my co-host Ryan from the Wednesday show, and he said that he built his lineups already, and he had Swift in like something crazy like 30% of his lineups, and he had to go back and change them all because he got ruled out. Because he would have been locked into a lot of lineups this week.
He was like 30% of mine at least too.
Yep.
And it's funny. I think there was a quote that came out today where they said, went to Adrian Peterson last week, and they said, "Hey, we're going to go ahead and start Swift." And he looked at the coach and he said, "You should have done it 2 weeks ago." So I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean, from all of our eye tests, I would say that's probably true.
Definitely.
A real friend would tell their friend not to do the lineups in the middle. Wait till Friday or Saturday or Sunday.
Hey, I told him, I say, don't do them on Wednesday. It doesn't make any sense because you're going to be changing that shit. And especially because I think he's doing 100 lineups this week. It's the most he's ever done because he had a big win and some parlay. So it's like, I'm playing 100 lineups this week. And I got Swift in 30 of them. I'm like, And luckily, I told him where the global swap tool is. Yeah, you got the global swap tool. You can just hit that and change them out. All right, let's move down into the mid-tiers. Gerson, we'll go to you first.
And mid-tier, I have James Robinson. This is a pure volume situation. It's not the matchup. It's a tough matchup. They are number 6 in DVOA, but Robinson's getting everything. He's getting the touches, the target. I think in this game when Steelers are going to score the hell out of they're probably going to drop like 30 points on Jacksonville Jaguars. But 6,400 mid-price. I have him projected for almost 17 points. So that gives me almost 3 times value. So I think Robinson's going to get targeted more in the backfield. And what's his name? Luton?
Yeah.
Luton, I think. Luton.
Minshew's not playing, right? Because I thought about Minshew. No, he's not playing.
No,
okay.
It's Luton.
Luton hasn't been bad. I mean, like, he's okay. He gets it done, but I can't believe they kept such a close game against Green Bay. That was hilarious, Tim.
Yeah, my wife was sweating balls too.
Yeah, that was rough to watch for like 3 quarters.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jamie Robinson as a contrarian GPP play, not a cash game, but I like him as a GP play.
All right, nice. Tim, who you got?
Hey, so I know on a previous show for this player we used the who Mike Jones drop, but I'm going to go a little bit further back. I think only Jeff might get this reference, and it's, hey, I'm Mike D, and I get respect. Your cash and your jewelry are what I expect. Just a few weeks ago, we were calling Mike Davis CMC Light. He was the auto lock, 80%. You got to play him. And now a couple bad weeks, and people are like, I'm not playing Mike Davis. Well, guess who was playing Mike Davis? This guy. Okay, 6.8K against Detroit. They are the team that cures, what ails you. They're obviously, whether or not they play Teddy, I don't really care because I think that it's going to be the same game plan either way. Right? Last week against Detroit, we saw that they targeted running backs constantly out of the backfield. I think that's exactly what they're going to do with Mike Davis against this week. We want that PPR upside. I think he's going to see probably at least 7 targets and probably get at least, 12, 14 touches out of the backfield. And I think he's going to be much lower ownership than he should be because he's come off a couple of bad weeks.
Yeah, definitely enough. And unfortunately, we didn't have a show last week, but I was all over the fade Mike Davis last week. I was all over the fade Duke Johnson last week, and I did it in all my GPPs, and it worked out well. I played them both in cash because I think you had to play them in cash. But this week against Detroit, I'm all about Mike Davis at 6.8. Detroit's run defense is just terrible. So I love Mike Davis this week. And we got 2 more guys to talk about. We'll go to you, Gerson, to talk about Mr. Antonio Gibson.
Yeah, man, Antonio Gibson. I'm not going to lie to you. I watched Antonio Gibson play last week because they were in the red zone a lot. I wasn't impressed. I wasn't impressed with him very much, but he pulled off a touchdown. I mean, he's just – I think he's almost there, Like, he's just he's a work in progress, I guess you can say. He got 2 touchdowns, but 3.5 yards per carry, 45 yards only. I mean, he's a wide receiver, right? Everybody should know that. Actually, I don't think everybody knows that, but he was actually a wide receiver in college. And they turned him into a running back. Well, he played a little bit of running back, but now he's obviously a running back only. But J.D. Mckissick somehow is getting 30 targets in 2 weeks. I swear.
Yeah. Yep.
So Antonio Gibson 5,800 in this game. I'm gonna be targeting him for Cincinnati, ranked 21st in DVOA. I think he's only coming in at 10% ownership. That's pretty low for a mid-tier guy that I really like. So give me him against Cincinnati. I'm just hoping the magic happens again. But I wouldn't be shocked if it doesn't, and he only gets you like 12 or 13 points.
All right.
I'm riding Antonio Gibson till the wheel falls off.
All right, good stuff. I'll just mention real quick your guy, Tim, and then we'll get to the value tier because we got a shit ton of values to get to. But you had James Conner there in Pittsburgh, obviously going up against Jacksonville's defense is definitely a good play in the mid tier. But let's move down into the value tier, Tim. Who you got for one of your values?
Yeah, it hurts me to say, but I think I might have to play Kalen Bellage this week. Like, it makes me vomit just thinking about it, that Caitlyn Bellage. But last week he came in and basically said, F you, Josh Kelly, I'm taking this job, and got like 70+% of the snaps. And then this week he gets a matchup where they're at home, a massive favorite against the Jets. I just think that it sets up so well for him. He's one of the few kind of like, guys that you're thinking, can I get close to 20 touches and, 15+ touches in the 5K range, and I think he's one of the few guys that checks that box. So, yeah, man, it hurts me to even click his name. But as Gerson mentioned at the top, RB is just so ugly this week that I think you have to take chances on some of these guys here, and he's somebody I'm going to probably have too much of. Yeah,
just my season-long league that I play, my main one, I got to play Bellage this week because I've got some injuries and some bye weeks, and I have Golladay in my flex, and I got to move Golladay out, and I got to decide between Caitlyn Bellage and the running back that Gerson has highlighted there, Mr. Damian Harris. Talk about Harris a little bit. Gerson convinced me to play him over Bellage in my season-long league.
Well, to be honest, Damian Harris was supposed to be my sick call, but I just didn't feel right because he was just too good of a player. Everybody should know this. But for some reason, he's coming in at 1.9% ownership. I don't get that because in this game, I guess this is more for the pass-catching running backs like James White and Rex Burkhead. But I think Damian Harris can. This team sucks at stopping the run. They're dead last, 32nd DVOA.
Yep.
For stopping the run. He had a big game last week. 20, or was that last week? No, it wasn't.
Yeah, he had 126 yards.
He ran over the Ravens. Yeah.
He ran over the Ravens for 121 yards. That's pretty impressive. I mean, 15 points. But Damian Harris should have a big game in this game. I actually think. Well, let's see. Yeah, Damian Harris is coming in as my number one value running back, and the next guy, well, yeah, I mean, he's 5.7. He's still my number one value running back. I haven't projected for it. This is crazy though. 18.5 points.
Woof.
Wow, that is crazy.
He'll have to score from like 20 yards out because if they get too close in, it's going to be Cam Newton getting the ball. So hopefully he can get like a long 20-yard touchdown because he's not getting the touchdowns right now.
Yeah. So I'll tell you one guy I was really high on early in the week that I've kind of backed off a little bit, and that's J.D. Mckissick. And I think there's two reasons for that. One, I think that last couple of weeks it's just been they've been forcing him targets, but I think a lot of it has been the matchup. And this week, as bad as Cincinnati has been against the run, they actually give up like bottom 5 in terms of targets to running backs, right? Though they are, they only give up 9% of all targets and less than 15% of all targets and less than 10% of their receiving yards to the running back position. So I just don't know if he can get there on volume alone this week to be able to substantiate that price. I think I like somebody who has more upside.
And also, Tim, I want you to talk about the guy that me and you looked at before the show started that we didn't realize was chalk. And it looks like he is going to be the chalk this week. I don't know how we missed him, but talk about Duke Johnson.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple reasons for this. I was kind of off Duke initially, probably like a lot of people, but I think the game script just sets up so well for him. As we talked about earlier, the New England Patriots have been pretty bad this year defensively, and they're actually really bad against the run. And so I think a lot of people are going to look at it last week and think, oh, he played really bad, but he still got the volume. Obviously, the game script didn't set up for him, and he's still going to get all the volume this week in a much better position. So, yeah, I actually thought that he was going to be kind of a sneaky play, but the more I've looked into it, it does look like he's going to be the chalk pay-down running back. So I don't know if I can play him in cash. I may end up going that route, but, yeah, I think Duke's a great play because he's going to give you all of the – it's great matchup, right? Good game script. They're going to use him no matter what. And, he doesn't have to compete for touches with anybody.
Yeah, I like it. I had one more guy on my list, and this is a guy you're probably going to have to wait till Sunday to actually plug him into your lineup. I'm not sure if he'll be the one to fill in the pass-catching role for the Detroit Lions, but Kerryon Johnson at 4K. With Swift out, we know AP's not catching passes, so it's a matter of who isn't catch passes. I think Ty Johnson is still there. Kerryon, of course, at 4K has been sort of phased out. But if he is sort of announced as a co-starter with Adrian Peterson, he can be the pass-catching running back there for Detroit against Carolina at 4K. He's pretty cheap. You can get a lot of things in that way.
AP starting, dude.
Yeah,
AP starting, but he's not he's not going to catch any passes. He doesn't catch passes, so I think that Kerryon can spell AP in the pass-catching roles.
Yeah.
Gerson, you got one more guy on your list that just got mentioned in the chat by Kyle. So talk about Mr. I don't even know how to say his name. Salvon Ahmed.
Salvon Ahmed. I was on him. I should have double-checked that. But Matt Breida did practice in full. So if he plays and Salvon Ahmed and him are putting the workload, I'll probably lean a little bit off him. But if they announce that Salvon Ahmed is going to start, I just want to know who's going to start. Because Brian Flores is one of those coaches that he likes the one running back, and he just gives them all the volume. So if Salvon Ahmed start, I expect him to get the volume. Last week he went 21 attempts for 85 yards and a touchdown. I was shocked as shit that he got that much workload. But I drafted Salvon Ahmed, I believe, in our Dynasty League, and then I dropped him. But to give you guys an idea, I like this guy coming out of college. I mean, he's pretty quick, but got one touchdown last week. really saved him because he would have just gotten like 8.5 yards. 8.5 points, But yeah, it's a good value, 4,800.
Yeah.
With Denver hasn't been impressive this year, and I look for workload, and if he gets that 4,800, that's what I'm going to be targeting. I have Adrian Peterson as my number one value running back next to Damian Harris with 4,000. They're tied at 3.2 value, but be cautious because while he can't catch any balls, he's in a great matchup against the Carolina Panthers. We all know we play our running back versus Carolina, and I'm not going to stop now just because Adrian Peterson. I expect his ownership to come up too come Sunday. If they announce AP starting, because he's only at 4%, that's coming up.
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
So the running backs we're looking at this week, just to make sure we know it's 2020, right? J.D. McKissick, Caitlyn Bellage, Giovanni Bernard, Duke Johnson, Adrian Peterson. Right?
Wow.
We want to throw up. This is
this is brutal.
Running backs.
This is brutal.
Oh, man.
All right, let's get to the receivers.
And now, wide receivers.
All right, looking at the elite level receivers here, we don't have a ton to look at, but Tim, I'll go to you first. You pick one of the guys you want to talk about.
Well, I only have one guy, and I think he's on kind of his own level this week after we got the news about Taysom Hill. I think Keenan Allen is kind of on its own tier this week. I think I mentioned earlier in the show when we were talking about tight ends, it feels a lot like the week where the Chiefs beat up on the Jets. I think the Chargers are going to beat up on the Jets. I think Keenan Allen had kind of an average week last week, and then he sets up perfectly. The cornerback that he's matching up this week is so bad he doesn't even show up on my chart because I think the guy who was matched up with is hurt, so they're bringing in a rookie. I think he could have one of those 30-plus point weeks where you look at it and you go, you can't win anything without Keenan Allen. So I understand if you can't get there in cash, but I think that he's somebody I'm going to be probably 30+% exposed to in tournaments this week because he's just got such a high ceiling.
Yep, I love it. And Gerson, you got a guy on your list. Do you still believe in Michael Thomas with the Taysom Hill news, or are you fading him now?
No, I'm playing him. He's 7,400, right? So, it's going to happen, and if I get him at low ownership, then so be it. But Thomas is the Atlanta Falcons, guys. Come on. They can't cover worth shit. And they're not going to cover you know what? He doesn't deserve to be called Michael Thomas. They're not going to cover Slant Boy.
But,
in a great matchup, I think it's just 7,300. Well, Taysom Hill, we know he can't throw. But I can assume he can throw a 5-yard slant boy route, So give me Michael Thomas to get PPR point.
He might only get 5 of them, though, right? Yeah. That's the risk here. He might seriously get 5 targets in this game.
Oh, no, this is a straight GPP boy. Don't be playing this in cash games, guys.
Yeah.
But here's a fun fact. There's another Michael Thomas in the league. He has more points than this Michael Thomas.
Ouch. So, I didn't realize that.
That's sad. In case you didn't know, he's on the Cincinnati Bengals, by the way.
Yeah, he's like the 5th receiver or something, too. I don't think he even gets on the field that often.
Yeah, so, if you put Michael Thomas, Cincinnati Bengals on your Draftkings roster and he's 3,000, there's a reason why.
Yeah, whoops.
But no, give me some Michael Thomas for GPP. Don't be putting him in any test game, please. But I like Michael Thomas.
All right, let's get to some of these mid-tier guys. Tim, who do you got for some of your mid-tiers?
Probably my favorite, one of my favorite mid-tier receivers this week, let me just put it that way, is going to be Justin Jefferson. This is a guy that I wanted coming out of the draft. I wanted him to go to Green Bay. Obviously, that didn't happen. He walked into Minnesota and said, let me just go ahead and take over for Stephon Diggs. And obviously, he's been one of the best rookies from a statistical standpoint of all time.
Yep.
Everybody looks at the Cowboys and they're thinking, if you look at the game last week, you're thinking, okay, Steelers are going to get way up on the Cowboys, run the ball with James Conner. I'm going to play James Conner. That didn't happen, right? This week, everybody thinks the Vikings are going to get way up on the Cowboys. We're going to play Dalvin Cook, and you should. But if that game script goes anywhere close to the game last week where Kirk Cousins actually has to throw the ball, then I think it's going to benefit Jefferson. He's the perfect kind of receiver to profile against these terrible Dallas cornerbacks. I think he's just got insane upside at 6,000. So he's going to be one of my favorite GPP receivers this week.
Yeah, I love it. I got Jefferson on my list as well. Gerson, the guy that was just mentioned in the chat, I want you to talk about Mr. Deontay Johnson a little bit.
Oh, man. You mean the best wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Yeah. I've been a big Deontay Johnson truther all year. I mean, last week he got 11 targets, 6 receptions, 116 yards, and a touchdown. I think in this game, he should have a pretty good upside versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah. So Jaguars can't cover with shit. So, I mean, give me them. They rank 22nd in DVP. He'd give me matched up with, hold on, I have it right here. What's his name? I can go over. Sidney Jones is a likely cornerback matched up person, and he can't cover with crap either. So, well, he's not bad, but he's all right. But give me Deontay Johnson. He's getting targeted like a alpha.
Yeah.
Big Ben. And the one thing that I love about Deontay Johnson, if you watch I watch the Red Zone, guys. I don't watch all the games. I promise. I just watch the Red Zone. He has a tendency where if the play breaks down, he creates his own route.
Yeah.
Big Ben just throws it to him.
Yep.
So if there's anything that Big Ben can do, just throw the ball to him and hope for the best, and he'll catch it. But I love Deontay Johnson. I think he's the best wide receiver on the Steelers. A lot of people say Chase Claypool because they jump on that shiny new toy.
Yeah.
But it's Deontay Johnson.
Well, let me just go ahead and jump on that shiny new toy because I'm going with Claypool this week. I think Deontay Johnson is the cash play, but I think Claypool is the GPP play. I think that if we saw the way that the Packers tried to attack Jacksonville last week, it was down the field. And I think there's going to be a couple of long plays where he could easily score deep touchdowns. So we know that he likes to go to him as well in the red zone. So I'm going to go with Claypool as my GPP pivot here. I'm going to be way overweight on Claypool.
Well, fuck it. I'll just take the other one then. I'll take Juju just for the hell of it.
That's it, guys. You guys heard that. We have a 3-way bet, $100. Whoever gets the most points.
All right, so the mid-tier guys I got, just so we can get to them really quick, I got F1, Terry McLaurin versus Cincinnati. I just think he's a big play receiver. He's getting targeted like crazy. Robbie Anderson versus Detroit at 6K, and I also had Jefferson as well. You have a couple more guys in your mid-tier, Tim. You want to mention those guys real quick?
Actually, go to Gerson because he's going to touch on one of them anyway.
Okay, Gerson.
You know Terry McLaurin hates being called F1, right? And he hates being called Scary Terry, too.
I know he hates being called Scary Terry. I thought he signed off on the F1 nickname, though.
No, I can't remember what nickname he said, but it definitely he doesn't like any of the nickname people give him.
He doesn't like Scoring McLaurin either, because that was another one that they said in Washington as well.
Man.
But I thought F1 was the one he signed off on. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, I like F1 better than the other two.
So my favorite, one of my favorite wide receiver value is Nikhil Harry. Not the to Jacoby Myers for sure. This guy came out of nowhere. He's kind of like those darling wide receivers come like he was hurt. He was a preseason darling, and then he got hurt, then came back and did pretty well in back-to-back games now.
Yeah.
So I mean, on a season, he had a 10-point game, 13-point game, and a 31-point game against the New York Jets, which was awesome, by the way. I'm glad he did that because it helped me win some money. And against Baltimore, a tough defense, he had 7 targets, 5 receptions, 59 yards. But he's a great value still cheap, 4,900 versus Houston. Houston very bad against the pass and the run. They're just bad defense overall, but he's the second highest owned wide receiver on the slate, next to Mr. Devontae Adams, which we didn't speak of, but you should know you should play Devontae Adams.
Yeah, we shouldn't have to tell you to play Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Jacoby Myers is definitely a great value play. But I really want to talk about this guy. Is Mr. Michael Pittman Jr. He's probably one of my other favorite value plays.
I remember you liked him coming out of college.
Yeah,
he was your guy.
He was one of my top targets in a lot of rookie drafts, and if it wasn't for my brother drafting before me, I would have had him in Dynasty too, but he knows who I like. So give me Michael Pittman Jr. He's probably the best wide receiver they have now because with T.Y. Hilton old, what's his name? The guy from Jeff helped me out. The guy from Ohio State, he got hurt. He was.
I was actually just Googling F1 Mclaurin, so I don't even know what you're talking about right now.
Anyway, all I know is Brian in the chat would tell you that the Colts are a sneaky stack this week. So Phillip Rivers, Michael Pittman, or if you want to switch it up, you can go with Nyheim Hines.
Yeah, so
Paris
Michael
Campbell.
Rivers, Green Bay, 4,500. I mean, he's only 7% owned.
Paris Campbell, by the way, right? That's what you're talking about? Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So the crazy thing is, my projections have him almost at. If you're drinking something, please spit it out, or drink it and don't spit it out. Almost 14 points. So that's a medium. That's pretty high for a value wide receiver too. But give me Michael Pittman Jr. I'm high on him though, so it just could be me. But don't at me if he only gets to 10 points.
Yeah. Just to settle the argument, he is more partial to F1 Mclaurin, so that's the nickname that he likes over Scary Terry. They don't even mention Score Mclaurin in this article I just read, but it is F1 that he likes.
Yeah.
All right, Tim.
Yeah, guys, I'm just going for fast.
One guy I want to talk about real quick is Brandon Cooks. We didn't get to talk about Houston, but I talked about earlier one of my favorite plays on the slate is Deshaun Watson. You can obviously pair him with Will Fuller. If you want to save a little money, you go down to Brandon Cooks. He's obviously been getting great volume the last couple of weeks. Obviously, last week I don't count because it was a hurricane or whatever in Cleveland, but I think I'm going to go right back to Brandon Cooks. I think he's cash game viable at 5,200. I think Jacoby Myers is the other guy in this range that I think is cash game viable. If you're looking for a GPP pivot, I really like, this actually hurts me to say, but I actually really like CeeDee Lamb this week. Everybody's kind of been talking about Amari Cooper, but I think that one of the best ways to attack Minnesota is with slot, and he plays the vast majority of his snaps in the slot. You also get some of the added bonus that he'll play some special teams, so you can get a touchdown there as well. But I really just think that we could see a couple weeks ago, Danny Amendola, the ghost of Danny Amendola, got like 7 targets just because they were giving them so much option underneath. And I think we could see something similar from CeeDee Lamb this week. So if you're going to do a Jefferson stack, or if you want to run back for a Cook or something like that, my favorite Dallas guy is CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, I agree. And I looked up the last time that Dalton played a full game. He actually had 11 targets, Lamb did, so I think Dalton does look for him quite a bit. So I think that's a great option there as well. He's on my list. A couple guys that had him. What was that, Gerson?
I forgot to mention a guy in the mid tier. I don't think you guys talked about him. Will Fuller.
No.
Yeah, I just kind of skipped. I just kind of talked about him just now. Yeah.
So like you mentioned, Brandon Cook. I love Will Fuller this week. I think this is a great matchup for him, and I can see. I just love Deshaun Watson this week. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right, a couple guys that I got. I like Jalen Reagor versus Cleveland at 4.3. I like Denzel Mims versus the Charger at 3.3. I think Mims is way underpriced, especially if Flacco's playing, because Flacco seemed to look his way quite a bit in that game a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
So
could have had a big game too. He dropped he got. So he went in double coverage, and Flacco just threw an interception. But if he would have caught that, he would have had a 20-point game.
Yep.
Yeah, he's my favorite run back option in Herbert stacks.
Yeah, agreed 100%. Any guys we didn't mention, guys, before we get to the defenses?
Yeah, I want one last guy, and that's Keelan Cole. I was going to use him as my sit call, but I ended up putting him as my values instead because I think he actually is going to be a little bit popular because we know one of the best ways to attack Pittsburgh is in the slot. We saw last week not only did he get that kick touchdown, but he also got another touchdown on the ground. I think he's going to get probably 5 to 7 targets. He's only like 3,800. I think he's a great value option.
Yeah, and I think Chenault's been ruled out already, right?
He has been rolled out as well. Yep. That's true.
All right, let's get to the defenses.
Defense.
All right, I had a hard time picking defenses this week, so I'm going to go to Mr. Defense. Tim, you always seem to nail the defenses. Who do you got this week?
Yeah, not this week, man. This week I told you I want to pay up for Lamar or Deshaun and Kamara and Cook, so I'm pretty much punting defense this week. I think the only one I'm going to semi-pay up for is going to be Miami Dolphins, but I think that I'm going to be mostly either Denver Broncos or Cincinnati Bengals.
Denver Broncos.
Yep. I think that they could be sneaky with Tua going to Denver for the first time.
Yeah, it's hard to play up in that altitude. It's a good call. I like it.
Why do people think Tua is a turnover-prone quarterback? Yeah, people know he's a very conservative quarterback, right?
He is.
No, I don't necessarily think that. I just think that sometimes when you go up there, it can be a little bit different for your first time. They can get some sacks, and even if he doesn't turn over in general, I think that there could be a potential. I think when I'm punting that, I'm thinking what team has the best potential to maybe have a touchdown, and I think that they are higher than anybody else in that range.
All right, who you got, Gerson?
Where's my sheet at? My number, Steelers is my number one defense, but that's paying up for them, obviously. They're 4,600. It's going to be hard to pay up on this slate, but if you want to get contrarian, they're a smash player against Jacksonville Jaguars. This Luton guy's going to get murdered by that defense. So give me Steelers defense. The other defense I have that I like a lot is actually on the other side of the Denver Broncos, is the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
Versus, I don't even know if Drew Lock can play. Is he playing?
I think he's playing, yep.
Yeah, even if he plays, that's even better.
Yeah, does it matter?
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't matter.
They might want him to play.
Yeah.
Let's play, what is it, Brett Ripien?
Yeah,
Ripien,
Brett Ripien, yeah.
Yeah, but either way, I think this Dolphins defense at 3,400 is a pretty good value defense. But it's at Denver. Elevation makes a difference, I guess. But, yeah, I mean, it's Denver. They're just, if it's not the Atlanta Falcons, that's the only game they've done well in, I swear. But give me that matchup. The third defense is the Chargers defense, but Chargers defense is mostly because we know we played anybody versus the Jets.
Yeah.
But
all of those are kind of pay up. Is there anybody down cheap that you like?
it's a Washington football team.
Okay.
Yeah,
they're 2,900. They should pressure Joe Burrow. And Burrow can throw interceptions too, but he's going to throw touchdowns too. But
yep.
One defense I was looking at, and it's like Ray sheep, is the Jets defense.
Yeah.
2,000.
Yeah.
I don't care that. I mean, if they're facing a rookie quarterback, he can make mistakes,
Yep.
I mean, why I don't think and he got a haircut too. Maybe he lost his superpower, guys.
Yeah, that was his superpower, exactly. I only had one defense that I wrote down because I saw that y'all had some pretty good defenses already. So I just wrote down the Browns versus Philly because Carson Wentz is a turnover machine, and the chances of them getting some turnovers is definitely there. So I take Browns at 3K versus Philly. All right, let's get to the stacks.
Goingfor2.com's weekly stack report.
All right, if you're listening to the podcast, you probably already know what Gerson's stack is, but Gerson, go ahead and give us your stack.
It's Watson, Fuller, Cook, and bringing back with Meyer. Not Nikhil Harry, guys. Nikhil Harry's dead.
He's dead. I killed him in like week 8, I think.
Yeah. Can't believe you still love that guy so much.
I was holding on to him. I was hoping. Tim, who
they
you got?
gave him every chance.
Yeah, I gave up on him though. He's done. He's put a fork in him. He's done.
I'm just saying, Jeff almost had like Jameis Winston this week, and then he
got ripped out of my arms.
He's like,
"What?" I actually used a waiver claim to pick up Jameis Winston, man. I actually feel really stupid.
Ouch.
Yeah, so I told you earlier, I'm going to stick with it here. Obviously, my stack this week is Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, Derrick Henry. If you want to bring it back with Derrick Henry, if you want to get a little contrarian, you can add in another receiver. I would say probably Willie Snead because he's a little bit cheaper, and Hollywood Brown just hasn't done anything for me this year. So, yeah, I'm going to go with that stack.
All right, I like it. I've got probably a pretty chalky stack. I got Herbert with Keenan Allen. You can go Hunter Henry there as well, and then bringing it back with Denzel Mims, like I mentioned, at 3.3. I think it's a pretty chalk stack, but I do think it will be a good stack to own as well. All right, the moment everyone's been waiting for. I've seen people mentioning in the chat already about their sick call. Let's get to the sick calls.
And now, the sick call of the week.
So, Gerson, you kind of already gave us yours because you had it in your value column. I didn't realize you had him as your sick call, but go ahead and talk one more time about Mr. Damian Harris.
Damian Harris, he's like 5,700, facing the worst defense. I'm going all in on this guy. He's going to be probably one of my highest owned running backs this week. Running back is ugly. So give me Damian Harris. I hope that ownership stays at 1.9%. That's what I want. I don't want no ownership on him.
Yeah.
But he's my sick call this week. great matchup, great environment. So give me him.
All right. I just want to say last week we didn't obviously have a show. Jeff asked us to place our sit calls in the group, and I put that my sit call was Jamal Williams. It didn't really work out, but my theory behind it did. Because if you watch that game, for like 2/3 of that game, it looked like he was going to outscore Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
the analysis was right, even if the box score says otherwise.
Yeah.
This week, I'm going to go with.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I had Jakeem Grant, but Gerson told me that he wasn't a sick call, that he was going to be too highly owned. I never changed it, but that's who I had for my sick call originally.
Yeah, we'll give you that one, Jeff. Jakeem Grant did outscore expectations this week, so we'll give it to you. This week, I'm going to go with Randall Cobb. I mentioned earlier I was deciding between Keelan Cole and Randall Cobb. I ended up going with Randall Cobb as my sick call for pretty much the same reason. Nobody gives up more slot yards than New England. Jonathan Jones, he's just terrible. When I look at the sheet every week, it's who have the biggest wide receiver cornerback advantages. And one of the first ones that popped up was Randall Cobb against Jonathan Jones, 10% advantage. I think it's 3,600. So you get a $1,600 discount on Brandon Cooks. I think he's probably going to see 5 to 7 targets. And again, he's only 3,600. So if you wanted to pay up for Watson and you needed a way to find the money, I think you can go with him in a double stack with either Cooks or Will Fuller in order to get contrarian and save a little cash.
I like it. I'm going with a guy we've had as a sick call a couple times this year, Mr. Quinte Cephus at 3,000. Amendola is now out as well as Golladay, so I think Cephus is basically going to be forced into a role where he's going to have to play a lot more than he has in the last few weeks. And I think the first 2 weeks of the season when Golladay was out, I think he had like 14 total targets in those games. We thought he would be the guy to take over when Golladay went out this last time, but he wasn't. But now that Amendola and Golladay are both out, I think Cephus does get some targets this week against Carolina at 3K. And if I'm not mistaken, Tim, you might know more than me, but the two cornerbacks there for Carolina, neither one of them are very good on the outside.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, I think he can, certainly beat them.
Yeah, the cornerback they're going to be facing is
I think that Rasul Douglas is probably going to be on Marvin Jones, so he'll probably see a lot of Deontay Jackson, but I think Deontay Jackson is beatable.
Yeah, I agree.
Assuming that they don't put Marvin Hall. I think that they're going to put Marvin Hall probably more in the slot if they're going to put Cephus outside. That's my guess anyway.
Gotcha. Yeah, I looked up Cephus' slot numbers. He's only played in the slot like 10% all year, so I don't think he'll be in the slot. So if he's outside, he'll get one of the other two cornerbacks, and I think he's a pretty good matchup. All right, guys, that wraps up the podcast for the week. Let's go around the room really quick. Give us your Twitter handles and where we can find you at on Facebook, Tim.
Yeah, as always, find us in the DFS Roundtable group on Facebook. Get in the chat, vote for Roundtable, and get in the arena. And then also hit me on Twitter Sunday morning or at Keto DFS.
Nice. And Gerson?
DFS Roundtable, the Fantasy G Pod on Twitter. You can find me also on the Sunday show in the morning. We have it with Gladys, Hamid, and Jared. We have a great show. I'm on there for the first 30 minutes. So if you don't see me on the last 30 minutes, because I'm not on there, I'm making my own roster right now at that time. But jump in, ask questions. We try to answer as many as we can. I'm telling you guys, on Sunday, I give out like little tidbits, like win issue or Harrison Bryant played at 25 points for 2,500.
Yep.
It's like Jeff said, I used to have a show on a Saturday night. He used to say, you saved the best for last. You don't show it for the show. But now I'm saving the best for his show. So show up on there, and I'll see you guys then.
Yeah, definitely. As always, guys, you can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. I'm also in the DFS Roundtable group as well as some other groups as well. You can find me here.
Donations in.
What was that? Yeah, get the donations in, guys. We got less than a week now for your donations for the Fight Against Addiction contest. Again, goingfor2.com/fight. For Tim, for Gerson, I'm Jeff. We'll see y'all next week.
Go Pack, go!
I was waiting for it.